coming down, coming down, coming down. Oh, hey, 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 internet, beat it. Well, I'm talking on Instagram, but it's the internet, and Instagram exists on the internet, so don't worry about it. You know who? It's me, T, from Patterson's taking the train to Tibet. And yes, today is a Monday, which means it's a me day. You'd think I'd be excited about a me day, but not really. You know, it's weird because you know you think I'd be a me kind of person, but I'm not. Well, me is Mondays, but Tuesdays is U.S. days, U.S. stuff days. Wednesdays is world kind of stuff days. I'm more like a world. I'm not even a world. I'm an internationalist. Going back. Well, we'll get to that some other time later. Thursdays is audio drama night. Now that's the day. That's what I is. I is audio drama. You know, and Friday's like a week wrap up. Saturdays whatever happens in my head, and Sundays is a reading day. We're reading to go now. Actually, you know, sort of kind of reading days. Sundays is, well, I sort of like that more than I like. No, I don't like nothing more than audio drama. Here's the thing though. Okay, me day. Okay, we got to get a little serious. This morning I talked to I have a group. They're anonymous. Well, they're anonymous to me. I guess they're anonymous to each other and everybody else. Called the Blue Light Brigade. Blue Light Brigade. We get up in the blue light. We have a whole process. We're gonna, you know, we're elite forces. Don't worry about that part. But now, for this evening, I want to talk to the populace. See, because Blue Light Brigade is designed because we're fighters, we're warriors. We're going to be ascending to what's called the Sloan warriors, which translated means warriors. Don't worry about that part either. But now, here's the problem. Especially in this day and age, it used to be they had war. Like say for instance, okay, let's do it this way. I'm in India right now, but I live in Southern Africa, and there's a phenomenon. There's the grouping known as Zulus. Now they get a lot more. They got press, but they get a lot more credit than they. Let's leave that alone. One part of the Zulus, what they're noted for, is that like a lot of armies, they would, you know, the army would move, and then they would have the women back. They would tend to medical needs, you know, food, stuff like that. And plus, the married guy might be in the front like that, and he wouldn't get leave to go to the back if he wasn't doing right in the front. See what I'm saying? I'm just saying it's the way it worked. It worked out pretty good. I think that's a good thing to do. Anyway, the point is, the point is that's war. You know, because everybody's going to war, and the Zulus would absorb all these. Everybody along the way, so the Zulus really aren't really. There's no such thing as 100% Zulu. I know they like to say that, but not. They were like a small little conglomerate, a small little, you know, tribe, if you will. And then they just every time they conquered other tribes, they became Zulus. So then you have this big mass group of Zulus, and which is another thing. Oh, before I get too far into this, everybody talk about class struggle. You got the lumped proletarian. You got the upper class, the oligarchs. You got the lower class. You got the middle class. You got the classic class. There's another class. It's the language class. And I think the language class is a little bit more prevalent than these other classes. Because if you speak a language, no matter what class, like say for instance you have I'm not going to give you, it's a language class. We'll get into it some other time. I need to talk to regular peoples right now. Because what I was bringing up is that during times of war, you know, you have your fighters, you know, you see the classic thing with the British, they form a line, they get the red coats and they form a line, stand up and they shoot, and then they go down, then the next line comes and shoot, and of course that changed when they got to, well, the classic thing, they changed when they got to America, because then the Indians were going like, you know, natives, you know, the autochthonous people, like, what the heck is this? And so we got all these woods, we'll stay in the woods. When they come to us, we'll do the thing, right? So war always constantly changes, right? The problem with war these days, first of all, everything is called a war. It started with this stupid, was it Nixon? One of the people back there said, we're going to have a war on drugs. No, LBJ, war on poverty. Oh, no, war loses meaning. But worse than that, and then it's like, oh, war on drugs. You can be involved in a war on drugs to get rid of drugs. You can be the war on poverty. We're going to, fight against poverty. So you're part of that war. Used to be wars. That's that thing, and you're a soldier. You're trained for war. Da 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 da. Now then it changed after. Actually, I think right after the Vietnam War. What happened with Vietnam conflict, or as the Vietnamese would say, the American War. What happened with then is that because of the terrain, because a lot of other stuff, everybody was involved. The villagers, the D. So the combatants were like everybody. All I'm trying to say is like there was no distinguishing who was a soldier, who was fighting for their country, because you was invading their country and blah blah. You understand what I'm saying? Nowadays, then let me fast forward a little bit. Then you had South Bronx made Colin Powell. Colin Powell, the guy from the Caribbean, and he grew up in the South Bronx. On the same basketball team as Alambe Brath. I'm just saying that's a fun fact for you people who need to know that, right? But he had, in his era, they had a thing they sort of called collateral damage. I guess it came out of Vietnam too. The collateral damage. So if a bomb hits, because instead of fighting boom, 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 now they started with bombs and stuff like that. So the bomb strap, whatever it goes, then you have collateral damage. I guess World War II had. Anyway, they gave it a name, collateral damage. Now that means that it's acceptable if we have a war situation that you happen to be around when the bomb hits, because the bomb don't know if you're wearing a red coat or if you're red skinned or whatever have you. It just, right? So you became collateral damage. Now out of collateral damage, then it became acceptable to have collateral damage. So now I'm going to fast forward get to the point right now. Problem is, everybody on this planet is I don't want to say a warrior. You're not a warrior. You're not trained as a warrior. But you're in the battle. You see? Now you got to prepare for the battle. I got to prepare you for the battle. Because I'm a warrior, right? Yeah, I was in the Air Force as a medic, so I guess I'm a different kind of warrior. But even if don't worry about that part. The point is, like, I'm trained by the U.S. military or the Air Force, if you will, but I was trained even before then by the cadet corps. It's kind of weird. It's about discipline, really. It's about discipline and focus and knowing and having your targets and stuff like that. Now, you as a civilian, you don't really have a target. You're not trained to have an enemy. Well, they're training you in a roundabout way. They say this person is an enemy. They always say that way. They tell us the citizenry, this is the enemy this year. This is the enemy next year. This is the enemy next decade, like that. They keep on pointing fingers, and then you're supposed to, everybody coalesce behind the notion that there, whether the enemy's wearing a mustache or a job or whatever they're wearing, or pajamas, whatever it is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dish you Asian folks. But that's the enemy. And so now you're going like, okay, the enemy is different. And you can see it best in films, because every so often the film industry would change when you get a different enemy. Film is a good indication of what's going on. Anyway, the point is, so now we are all in war, whether it's a war against, we are all in war. And you have to, I won't say prepare yourself, but you have to be ready. Now, here's the thing. For me, the thing is, if you're in the middle of the battle, you don't actually know you're in the battle. Can I say that way? I know you see bombs raining down. I got to say it a different way. Look, man, I don't know how to say this. The point really is, you have the people who are strapped for the battle, and you have the people who are just victims of the battle. And you don't want to be a victim. Now, the first thing they do to make you a victim is to give you fear, make you fearful. Now, don't get this wrong. There's a thing called being afraid, which is healthy. If somebody comes at you, if they got the tank coming down your main street, that'll give you a little fear, because the tank can and they got the turret, you know, and of course they got the jackboots, the police, you know, with the thing. That'll give you a little fear, right? I mean, not fear, make you afraid, right? But what they're trying to do is shift you from being afraid to make you fearful. The trick is, if you're a so-called civilian, if you're the regular citizenry, right? The trick is you can be afraid, but don't embrace fear. Don't have fear. You have to be unfearful. You can't have fear. Again, you can be afraid. A dog comes barking, a tank comes down the street, you're afraid. But you can't let that afraidness shift over to fear. It's a good note. These words are very important. Let me just make a little swath here. Let me swap it. Feel a little sweat on my brow. There's a swath from the shirt in it. You know, forget that. Sorry to distract, but I have to distract sometimes because, to me, the world is absurd, and because it's absurd, I do things that entertain myself. Because as a civilian, you know, since you don't have to always give your game face on, you have to really have not distraction, but entertainment. That even in the battle, you got to be entertaining. You got to entertain yourself. Make sure you keep your spirits up. Let's put it that way. But back to the point. So that's our greatest thing is you can't let them push you from being afraid to having fear. That's the best thing I can tell you, and that is the clarion. I say it's easier for me because the situation is I grew up in when I was born, cool was just coming into play. Well, it's 40s, 50s, but it's cool. The jazz term, cool. So in a weird sort of sense, I'm a product of cool. You know, so I'm cool. Whatever happens, I'm cool. You see? Don't get me wrong. I'm emotional. I'm whatever not hot tempered, but you know whatever. But you're a product of your surroundings. So I was the age of cool. Everything that happened was cool, right? Now you have when the age people born now, you got that the vibe, you know, the doof doof doof. Well, then you had the doof doof doof. What the 70s, 80s, doof doof doof, that kind of. Then you had the hip hop, which is like then you had the gangsta. All those things shape, especially in your informative years, it shapes what you are. Again, I'm lucky because I was hanging out. My formative years with the age of cool, you know, Miles on trumpet, you know, Lester Young, that kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? Dare I say, Billie Holiday, you know, Esther Phillips, even if you want to go there. Hey, Ruth Jones, who you know is the point is, you know, Hazel Scott, you know, it's a different era. So my attitude is going to be different than your attitude, but I don't want you to succumb to the whatever the prevailing thing that the media or that the popular culture has pushed your way. Again, the through line there, the most important thing that you have to understand: have no fear. You know, atomic energy, whatever they're gonna blow this up, blow that up, whatever. Do not fear. Be afraid, but do not fear, because fear paralyzes. You know, what's that Fassbinder film? Ali, fear eats the soul. So, a German director, don't worry about it, it's a black guy, whatever. It's a German film called Ali, fear eats the soul. Don't have fear, because fear will eat your soul. You could be afraid, don't have fear. And I keep on saying this because I want it to sink in, right? It's the most important thing I can tell you on a me day. This is me. I've never had fear. A lot of times when I was young, I wasn't afraid of nothing, right? But even here with these dogs, when I first came to, oh man, these dogs bother me. What is it? Eventually I started walking slower, carrying my stick. Now the dogs, they go like, I guess we can try to see if he's afraid, and then they do their little barking. sometimes I stand and look at them, and they bark, then they get tired and say, "Oh boy, we cannot instill fear in this boy," so they keep on going. So that's the point. No matter how they bark at you, no matter what they throw at you, no matter what enemies they say you have, don't be you can be afraid of those things, but don't have fear. Talk to you later.